Okay, guys, so today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why you should not move down to Miami. Now, this is coming from a person who's been living here their entire life. I've been here since I was 7 years old. I'm now 38. I have done some traveling around the country. I've been to different states. I have been out of the country, period. But it's always been a thing for me. I've always been drawn down to Miami. It's like a magnet. I don't know why, but it kind of is what it is. Well, to start things off, I think that the first reason why I wouldn't move down here, if I was a person trying to, move away, or if I was thinking about moving down here, it would be the cost of living. Now, in the past 5 years, I think the cost of living has skyrocketed, and I'm not trying to get into politics or anything, but I think it's due to the economy and the leadership that we have in government right now. Nationwide, I think it's gone up, but I think down south, Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, places that are popular, that are tropical, that are tourist attractions or are high volume in tourism are up through the roof. Now, I live in a 4 bedroom house. The house is I want to say roughly around 2,600 square feet. It's a townhouse. It's two stories, and we are paying here for a place like this $3,200 a month. It's nothing out of this world, normal townhouse, but I think that's incredibly expensive. I remember the days where I remember a 2 bedroom apartment in the Hammocks, which is like a really nice part of Miami, and it was around $1,200 for a 2 bedroom apartment. Now the same apartment, I would argue that it's probably going for anywhere between 2,000 to 2,600 in this area, which is the same area I was living back in 2013. So cost of living is my first reason why I wouldn't move down here. To move on to the second reason, it would be the traffic. Traffic in Miami is out of this world, ridiculous, terrible. I mean, to the point where, it would take you around 1 hour and 30 minutes to get from here to a place that's around 15, 20 miles away. Normally on a day without traffic, it would take you roughly around 30 minutes. What would take you roughly around 30 minutes without traffic on rush hour would take you somewhere around between an hour and a half, maybe even a little bit longer. So you're talking about 3 hours minimum of commute on a work day, which is, oh my God, devastating. And then not only the traffic, but this also ties into the cost of living. We have tolls in our highways. So I think it's roughly around like every mile or 2 miles, you're gonna have to pay like $1 or like 85 cents. I'm sick of paying rent. So yes, traffic, the tolls, the rush hour is nuts. What I found that a lot of people are doing here in Miami, they're barely surviving. You can't say you live here unless you're like a millionaire, where you are at least, both you and your partner or wife are making 6 figures. You can say you live in Miami. Anything else under that, you're surviving. So I see that a lot of people are now taking public transportation. I worked at the hospital, the Veterans Hospital, for a while, and I would see these doctors and nurses. They would commute to work and back home in public transportation. It's a no-brainer. You save money, and you don't have to worry about the driving, the tension and the stress of rush hour traffic, road rage. The drivers are terrible. They are just the worst drivers, I think, in the world. Maybe worse than California and New York put together. So that will be my second point. The traffic situation here in Miami is just terrible. Now for number 3, for those of you who do not speak Spanish, there is probably going to be an issue if you move down here, because in Miami, the majority of the population are Spanish speaking, and a lot of newcomers from different countries, especially from Cuba, they don't speak English. So there have been situations where I've, not me myself personally, but friends of mine who do not speak the language or Spanish, have gotten into, misunderstandings with people because of the language barrier. So if you're someone that lives up north, like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, even in the center of the country, I think that you guys might have an issue with the language, because down here in Miami, English is not the number one language anymore. It's Spanish. So the competitive job market here in Miami is nuts. It's a lot of young people trying to create their fortune, and if you're not working online, if you're not doing anything that's social media related or marketing or stuff like that, then you're going to be out there, right? And then the workforce in Miami, since the place is so saturated with people, I would say overpopulated, there's a lot of competition for jobs, even entry level jobs. There are people who have a hard time trying to get a job at Publix. So imagine these jobs that are, white collar. If you're going to work at Brickell, if you're going to work in the beach, if you're going to work in places where, it's very desirable for the young, seeking to be rich and famous crowd. They want to live there. They want to work there. So I guess what I want to say is that it would be challenging, even for people who are qualified, to come down and compete for these positions. My wife, she's a military veteran, right? She's a veteran. She has a master's in human resources, and it's been difficult for her. She's submitted the applications, resume, all that, and there's a lot of people trying to work now because of that bounce back from the pandemic. But also there is a thing where you can work remotely, and so a lot of people want to do hybrid work, which is part-time at home and part-time at the brick and mortar or at the business or at the institution. So competitive job market is my fourth point. So my last one is one that there's nothing that people could do anything about. This is out of your control, and it is the weather. Here in Miami, we have hurricane season, South Florida, even as far as Georgia, and all through the Panhandle going west. We every year have a season where we get most likely hit by a hurricane, and it's Hurricane Alley over here. It's really dangerous because you have to be very aware of where you live. You have to be very cautious of the weather, keep up with the news, because when it's hurricane season, even if you didn't watch the news, you're still going to notice it, because you're going to go to a grocery store, you're going to see the water depleted, you're going to see people making sandbags at Home Depot, you're going to see all kinds of nonsense, right? And I don't know whether it's a gimmick or not, but yes, the storms do come, but I think that the preparation for the storms and the hype that the news sends out, I think it's probably a business technique for some of these companies, because you have people who will stock up on cans, stock up on toilet paper, bleed the stores dry of water, and then the hurricane misses us, or it was like a 20% chance we might get hit. But yeah, okay, so that sums it up. Those are my 5 reasons for why I think you should not move to Miami. I can't wait to get out of here, to be honest with you. I can't wait to make enough money and have enough freedom to say, deuces, Miami. I know when I was young, I used to say 305 till I die, this whole thing we got going down here. But let me tell you, man, it gets old and expensive. But all things considered, I think that Miami is still a beautiful place to live. It has its pros, its cons, like any other place. But I also, believe that it's an experience, to live here and to get to know the people and to experience the tropical environment, and to go to the beach and to see the mixture of nationalities and cultures that come down here and coincide in one place. It's a beautiful thing to see. But gotta have the money, man. Gotta have the money.